I'm going to read a piece I wrote that's actually part of the Walking into the Lion's Den book. Um, this is on truth, and I don't know which Barbara Kingsolver book this quote comes from, but I began it with this. I crave to stop bearing all of the wounds of this place on my own narrow body, but I also want to be a person who stays, who goes on feeling anguish where anguish is due. In the autumn of 2018, 1 year after, a Navajo police officer sent me a missing persons flyer and asked, "What do you feel from this?" I had a meeting with a female elected representative of the Blackfeet Nation in Montana. I hoped that a Native American woman in a position of power, a legislative one, a formal position of power, would be willing to help me with information I had regarding a sex trafficking network within Native American First Nations communities across the continent. I wanted her to help me in a way that no tribal, local, or federal government agency had in the year I'd been steeped in what I call the fuckery. By the way, that's a really, really, really specific definition. And the fuckery is the relationship with its hub in the Phoenix metro area, the relationship between the criminal organization on the Gila River Res, Indian gaming, and the Sinaloa cartel. That's what the fuckery is. Other things have very specific definitions as well, but carrying on. Here's what I wrote. Her response was to suggest that I write a novel because, quote, even if you change everybody's name, they'll know you're talking about them. They know. Everyone fucking knows. That's a sidebar. I didn't write that. That's what I meant. Coming on the heels of the discussion we'd had about how white people have historically created fictionalizations, like changing names of people and places, mountains, hey, to accommodate their own stories of colonization and decimation, I was floored. She had not heard herself speak and chose not to hear me speak anymore. You are a voice for the voiceless, she had said minutes before this exchange, and yet she did not want to hear. And I didn't have the courage to shout. They have voices. They are speaking. They are crying. I also wanted to add, this is real and true horror that needs no fiction added to the drama. I didn't. I'm skimming a couple of lines because it's about the book. In fact, I'm not going to skip. I'm going to reword and say what follows. The things that I share are not fiction. As these things developed, I may change some names, especially that of families who aren't aware how my work has continued. And I might condense a timeline, but the rest is as true as the breath you draw. True things are sometimes hard to wrap the head around and for the heart to acknowledge. I recognize that and honor it when others' heads and hearts can't comprehend the truths of things best forgotten. Women are told that a lot. Best to forget the rape. Best to forget the incest, the bruised thighs and blackened eyes. Just move on. These, among the many, many, many things that someone else has decided that is best to be forgotten, cannot be forgotten. They live in our cells and our sinew. It's one of the reasons that I do this work, all of my work, with the foundational principle of truth. Someone once told me regarding the healing work, folks see that you have no agenda but healing, however that comes. They see one without guile and with ruthlessly loving. These qualities are mighty rare. This isn't different than that. It is A, healing, and an unusual way. There is no guile. And this is relentless love in action. What I share within these pages, I'm going to link this somewhere later, is the truth as it's been told to me and shown to me for years. I'm limited in my capacities to fact check, so I'm left with choosing, sometimes uncomfortably, I don't know. But I use that when I don't know because it's truth, and I'm not going to embellish anything that comes around that. It's for the same reasons that I have chosen the past 15, now 16 years not to use clickbait or fear-based marketing to participate in performative ceremony and to go on radio shows that like to manipulate listeners into buy more. If you buy more, you can be more spiritual. No. It's hard to speak truth to power when the power structures and underneath their shaded shelter don't want to hear it and don't want it told, even though they know it. Not only do institutions proverbially circle the wagons to protect themselves, so do individuals. In a piece I called My Secret is Safe with Your Secret, I've shared that. I'll also link that. I speak now of truth because I've been recently been reminded how fickle the reception of truth is. I've learned again how, when examination of truth reveals what's underneath superficial calls for righteousness and a red hand over the mouth, identity, fear, historical trauma, combined with current abuses of women by institutions of power and organized crime, truth becomes a thing to avoid, especially when it exists or is delivered by someone who exists outside the rules of the game. I'm a white woman, duh, whose medicine way isn't limited to ceremony or sex or tribe or language. My way is not between two worlds. It's knowing that there aren't two worlds. The medicine itself is the truth. It's the highest expression of love that falls outside of how it's supposed to be. These myths around love and truth and beauty and grace and God and gardens of Eden. A couple of years ago, what I wrote was around this time last year. It's been 2 years ago now. I spoke with a respected woman from Fort Berthold who is esteemed for her work in journalism and indigenous communities and bridging those gaps. And our initial conversation was about a long dead, fairly famous woman. And it was welcomed. And in the work related to this long dead woman in question, then and now, I was trusted in part because of my whiteness. Weird, but true. However, what opens doors and questions regarding this particular dead woman in history is slammed shut when we begin talking about those murdered women of the modern era. When she attempted to re-engage with me last spring, I replied, I'm going to pass on talking about so-and-so until people are willing to listen to the truth about the many hundreds of remains of less important women buried in unmarked, unhonored places and help me bring them home. I don't want to expend any more energy. And I went on to tell her, well, nothing has changed from before. If she wants to come home, bring her home. Duh. You don't need me to tell you that. In the summer of 2017, just as my work around MMIW was beginning, though I didn't know it at the time, I felt something, but I did not know it was going to be like this. An old Cree man said to me, because he did know what was happening, he just didn't tell me. He said, don't say anything to anyone. I cannot tell anyone who you are or why you are here. You must keep your mouth shut, not even share your prayers with anyone. When you give your prince in a sweat, hold your tongue. Do not say what you are praying for or who you are praying for or who you are working with. Say nothing. Hold everything inside. And I was like, oh man. Hey, I want to know what he knew that I didn't know and what made him so afraid. What would make an 80-year-old man so afraid of me speaking truth? Behind those old man's words were deeply held fears passed down by those who taught these things around spirit. Because there was a time not long ago at all, that holding everything inside is what kept individuals alive and communities intact. When the threat of the savage accessing the powers that be and to be as they were meant to be actually meant death for those who spoke aloud, those who sang aloud, those who danced aloud with the rhythm of the heart and with the rhythm of the heart of all that is. Those who taught these things were also taught by others who tried desperately to erase families from their own identities, histories, stories, and for some, their existence. To be someone who hears prayers, to whom prayers are delivered, and be told you must keep your mouth shut, not even your prayers with anything, it's quite the thing. Like, that's a very big fucking deal. However, I'm not one to keep my mouth shut. It served me for a bit. It doesn't now. My prayer is the same one I prayed in early 2021 when I sent a letter to about 500 elected leaders in Indian country across the continent. Quote, "These women and girls are more than an acronym, hashtag photo op, or muse for artistic expression. They may not be drawing breath, but their voices are carried by the wind and sand, waters and winged ones. To me, help me bring them home and prevent another generation from meeting the same fate." This is for those who have been disappeared into a darkness that is in the midst of our lives. We can't see it, but it's there. For the Ariel Begay's, the Misty Rain Bedonis, Ashley Loring Heavy Runners, and Jermaine Charlots across the continent and the world, and for the little girl with a pink flower in her hair. I'll tell you her story one day. They have voices. They pray prayers. Those prayers have been heard. I hear them. Their prayers, brought by bones whistling on the wind, have been heard. This is the answer to those prayers. This is their call for justice.